Good morning. Good morning. So we're on Nun. Yes, someone. No, Nun. Nun Chesamarawa. Is that true? Let's get over here. Yeah, Nun Chesamarawa. Happy Hanukkah, everybody. Hanukkah Sameach.
The rest of these.
Yeah, that was good for you. Good morning, Dr. Fine.
Morning.
Good morning. Someone told me something from Hanukkah Sameach that from the Baba Side that Sameach is Shabbos, Mila, and Chodesh. The three things that Goy made Xera against. So there's a question. There's a different mitzvah of Simcha and Hanukkah. Rambam does some is mashma Simcha, but he said Sameach means
Very strong.
Shabbos, Mila, and Chodesh. Okay, so we're in the subject about Gidulim. Gidulim. The Mishnah said, okay, we didn't see what has to do with our Mishnah yet. But the Mishnah spoke about that when someone makes a neder, that sometimes the Gidulim are also, sometimes the Gidulim are mutter. We'll get to that eventually today, maybe. But the Gemara brought a question from Yishmael Ishkfar Yama, or the Yama, about are the Gidulim going to be matter the Iker? Means you had a case of Shemitah onion, and now you planted it in the 8th year, and what grows in the 8th year is mutter. And that Gedulim is mutter. The Gemara is taking the premise that the Gedulim are mutter with extra growth. And the question is, if that extra growth is possible to be mevatel the Iker, which was Aser, Shemitah in this case. And the Gemara brought all kinds of cases, not only by Shemitah, the Gemara brought also by Truma and by Orla, by Klai Akerim, all kinds of cases. And the last case, we spoke about two more cases where there's going to be a Chumrah. That do you say that the Gedulim can be mevatel the Iker? The Gedulim is one status, the Iker and the Iker is another status. Let's say the Pasha case would be that the Iker was Aser, and then what grew extra growth is the Heter. Is the Heter able to be mevatel the Iser? So far the more what Rabbi Yonah said that it is able to. Rabbi Yonah says it's mutter. Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Yonason said that does not. It's not able to. What am I saying correctly? Mutter means that the Gedulim of Heter are mevatel Iser. Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi said that it's not. The Gedulim of Heter are not able to be mevatel Iser. The Gemara doesn't say beferish why not. And David said because maybe it stands by itself. The Rush sounds like that a little bit. That doesn't get mixed. That the Gedulim is not mixed. I guess that's what it means. Like David said that only the outer pieces, the ones that grow bigger, that's the place where you see the Gedulim. Maybe there's another pshat, but the Gemara says you say that Gedulim is a sword that it shouldn't become batel. And he had a machlokas so far, Maran and Rabami started looking for proofs. He brought two proofs so far, and the Gemara said that maybe it's only l'chumra that you say that it is mevatel, but it's not a proof that you're going to say that it's mevatel even to be makel. That's what we're holding. So the Gemara now, Elamin Hadar Pashta, about 7 lines from the bottom of Chesed Aleph.
We want to bring a proof that what?
Agidulim mevatel the Iker.
Because the Gedulim are not the Isser, and the Iker is the Isser, so we want to know if the Gedulim could have the power to be Vatel Iker.
Right. Elamin Hadar Pashta. So he brought a proof from the following Mishnah. This is Rabbi Ami, it seems. The Tnan. The Sodom Shodolem Gishamim Vitsamchu. Onions that it came down rain upon them and they grew. From what I saw, it sounds a little bit like they're still in the ground. From Shemitah, this is talking about Shvius. It's a Mishnah in Shvius. So it's talking about Shemitah, and it says that you had onions. And here we're going to talk about both cases, from the 6th going into the 7th and the 7th going into the 8th. The beginning is talking about the 6th going into the 7th. So it was the 6th year onions that are mutter, that's regular onion. And then it grew also during Shvius, during Shemitah. So the Mishnah says it depends on a certain way to tell if they were Gedulim. That's the way the Meforshim explained. The olim. So what does the olim mean? Does the olim mean the scallions that grow up on top, or does it mean the new layers of onion? I don't know the details, but the point is, what from the color of them you can tell if it's called that it grew. Did it grow more? It says samchut. Samchut means that it grew, so it sounds like it grew. It grew more during the 7th year. but it says, is it a good growth? Is it considered something that was significant, a significant growth? So if the new leaves or leaves are
Maybe
shorage,
some roots.
what?
Maybe it includes the roots.
Could be, or maybe it grew something, but the Gemara is going to say it depends how much grew in a way that is considered a good gidulim or not. So it says shorin or hariku. So I get the impression, Chavusa thought that it means, doesn't mean black or green, but it means a dark color or a light color, a pale color. From the color, you can tell if that's called gidulim or not. Did it grow more? For our purposes, I don't know all the details, but I mean, I don't have a lot. If it's a pale kind of color, so that means that the gedulim are not so significant, and therefore mutarim. Therefore, even though it grew a little bit in the 7th year, that's not called significant growth. But Chanina ben, I think this happens to say a different factor. The criterion is not going to be the color shorin or hariku. But Chanina ben, I think there's somewhere in Bicholin Tolish, Ba'olin Shel and Asurin. If we hold on to the olin and the whole thing comes out, it sounds a little bit over here like it's talking about the outgrowth on the top, not that a new layer. It sounds like the new growth that comes out of the top of the onion. But whatever it is, he says if you can hold on to it, that means that it's a strong gidulim, and if not, then it's not. So again, the actual details of this halach, I don't know what it means, black, or holding on to it. But it does say that sometimes the gidulim are significant, and the first case was going from the 6th year into the 7th year. And if it's significant growth, so it says that it's asr, because the gidulim are asr. And the Mishnah ends off that the same thing would happen from the 7th year going into the 8th year. That if you had 7th year onions and it went into the 8th year, so if it's going to be significant growth in the 8th year, that's also going to be mavatel the shvius. Of course, in the beginning, when it talks about that a little bit going into the 7th year, from the 6th to the 7th, even a little bit might answer it. And when it says that going from the 7th into the 8th, it's going to be mutter, the Rosh says only if you have robe, you have to have a lot. But the point of the Mishnah is not to say that it's the same shear, but that's the same criteria of gidulim of the next year have their own identity, and you have to see how that if there's enough to affect the previous year. If it's the 6th to the 7th and there's significant growth, so the growth is going to be aser, it's going to aser. If you have from the 7th to the 8th and the significant growth, you will say that it means rove, and it was in a way that it's considered shorin or Yecholon Litolish. So
what, more grown?
it's called a strong gidul, a strong gidul.
Those are two ways of determining if it's raw.
No, because the beginning is not a case of robe. The beginning is a case going to 6th to the 7th, even a little bit would answer it. But that's considered something that's I don't know what to say. It's the quality of not the quantity, but the quality. The quality of the growth is considered a good growth. I don't know more than that. So that's what the Mishnah says, that there's some way to tell if that quality of the new growth is considered significant. How much you have to have, the Rosh says that's not the subject over there. If you have to have a little bit of asers, or you have to have matter. But what we want is this last line. He had an onion of Shemitah, and then it went into the 8th year, which was mamish the case that Ishmael, Ishkavar, Yama happened. That's how our whole subject started from that.
Mm-hmm.
If we scroll back to yesterday's Gemara, that's how the whole Gemara started. Where's that? Yishmael, here it is. Yishmael, Ishkavar, Yama. He came with a question. What's al shakul b'shviyas v'nata b'shminas v'rabu gidul avalikro? He had an onion, which was a 7th year onion, and he planted it in the 8th year. And the gidulim of the 8th year are more than the ikr that you started with. You say that the gidulim are matter the isser or not. That was his question. And we went through all kinds of cases. And now we came back to a similar case. He found a Mishnah. Rabbi found a Mishnah that says that if there's kinegdan the motzai shvius mutarin, you had a case which a 7th year onion, which grew into the 8th year. If you have quality growth, whatever the case is going to be, Horin or Yecholon Litolish, that's enough to be mutter. So it says pretty favorish. Here you see, right from here, that the growth of heter is able to be mevatel the issa. That was what Rabbi Yanai said. This is against Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Yonasan. Both of them said that it's asa, that it's not. Here say that it's not able to be mevatel. This Mishnah seems to show that it is mevatel. That's the Gemara's. That was Rabbi's raya. The Gemara tries to reject the raya. The Dilma ben Meduchanan. Maybe he's talking about Meduchan. So the word duchan sound comes from the word dach, that it was crushed, and the Rosh explains that the whole question that Gidulim is Mavatel was only because some reason Gidulim should not be Mavatel, like Chaim David said, because it stands by itself. Let's say the new layers, whatever it is, but the new growth is not mixed mamish with the rest. That was the Gemara's question, or whatever the other story you might say why Gidulim are not able to be Mavatel. But maybe this case that it says that it's Mavatel is not talking about that it's still growing and it's in the field and it got more. Maybe you crushed it up. After you crushed it up, then of course it's Mavatel. If you have enough Gidulim, it means all you see here is that the Gidulim are mutter. The Gidulim of from the 6th to the 7th, the Gidulim of the 7th you're going to answer it, and from the 7th to the 8th, the Gidulim are mutter. If you crushed it up, it doesn't say here that it's not crushed up yet. It doesn't say that it's still in the matzav of Gidulim. The Gidulim and the whole onion was now crushed up, and now if you have mostly heter, because the 8th year Gidulim are heter, so then yeah, for sure it's going to be Mavatel. We didn't question that. The only question, so once it's crushed up, the Gidulim is out. The Gemara's question was not if Gidulim are mutter or not. That's how the Rosh is going. That the question is not if Gidulim are mutter. The question that we know Gidulim are mutter. The question is if they're able to be Mavatel. So that's the only question before you crushed it up. Once you crushed it up, then sure it's Mavatel. Why not? The Gidulim are mutter, and you have robe over the Isser, so that's not a question. It doesn't say over here that it's Mavatel even before you crushed it. It just says that if the Gidulim are mutter, and if there's a robe, so it's going to be able to be Mavatel. Maybe only if it's crushed. Maybe Gidulim are not mutter. So Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Yonasan, they got out of the kasha. What's that? Good. Okay. So
like trapers, if you have any trapers like a piece of something that you still see that it's a whole piece of something, then it's not going to help you butter the kitchen. Whereas if it's like a gravy,
yes,
then it certainly will help.
Yes, I don't want to say exactly the way you said that yesterday. That's mama standing by itself. There wouldn't be a question then. If the new growth is mama standing by itself, if it would be like that, that I don't think it's that way scientifically either. That the new growth is only going to be the outer layers. I don't think it goes like that. The whole thing is getting more, but it's considered more chashuv the gidulim, and maybe it's not able to be mavatel. Whatever you said, the Rosh says something like you said that it's not arvi. The mishum dahanach lomas arvi legamri. The gidulim don't get mamish mixed in. Whatever the svara is going to be. The Gemara doesn't say the svara. The Rosh says those words. You said such a svara that maybe it's only. But I don't want to be so clear. But of course, if you see the piece of hazar meat, that surely is not butter. So here, if you see for sure this is the old ones, this is the new ones, and then it wouldn't be a question probably. So I don't know how it works exactly, but the Gemara had a question about Gidulim, and the Gemara brought a right that it is Mavatel against Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Yonasan, and the Gemara rejects the right by saying it doesn't say here that it's still in the form of the original and the Gidulim. Maybe you crushed it up, and now for sure it's Batel. Okay, so we try another right. Element of Tanya. But so we'll try another right from the following right. Non chesam of beis. Hamenache shema kusi b'chasios. So I don't get the details over here. It seems that we don't need this first line. We're going to need the second line. I don't know why we mean that. Why we bring down this case. The word menachish means literally. Usually, the same menachish means to weed, to take out weeds, take out the bad from the good. But the kusi is the owner of the field, and the achasios. What achasios? The Gemara is going to say in a couple of lines that it's something that has the family of garlic, onions, and luf. Luf, they say, is also kind of a bulb plant. They call it Solomon's lily, I think, but it's a bulb plant, which we're going to say soon is ein zara kola. Just take it like garlic and onions, these kind of things. So he was taking out the bad from the good. Why it says such a fancy case? The Mepharshim talk about what the case is exactly. Chasios is a kind of a bulb. That's nice.
But luft, I don't see
luft. I just jumped the kid that it's going to say 7 lines down that chasios is going to be luft, shuman, b'tzolim. I just put the Gemara that it says later on. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Anyway, the good Jew was being menachesh together with the kusi in his field, probably in the field of the kusi, and these chasios, garlic, onion. And the question if it's mu'usar. So no, the kusi is not maaser. So we're sure that he was not maaser. And it's like regular table. There's a lot of eat of it. The worker is allowed to eat of these onions as he's working. He's allowed to eat like any worker is allowed to eat from the food that he's prepared, that he's working on. Achila sarai. even though it's not yet mu'usar, you're allowed to eat achilas arai. That's the halacha that you're allowed to eat achilas arai until Gmar Malacha and Baruch Pnei Habayis. And when you do be maaser, you have to be maaser vadai, not only the mais, not the mais. Definitely was not mu'usar.
We're talking about a third person.
A Jew, a good Jew, the menachesh, the one who's menachesh.
He's the first person. The kuti is the second person. And now who's going to have to do the meiser?
The one who, the menachesh, she's the one who, the menachesh is the one who wants to eat.
There's
Is
no
a menachesh, is a Yisrael menachesh with a kusi owner. The menachesh is working for a kusi, and he's working on his chasios, on his garlic and onions, and he wants to eat, like a worker is allowed to eat from the work that he's doing. So the question is, so it's not mu'usar. We say it's not mu'usar. You're allowed to eat, all right, like any kind of a growth that was not yet mu'usar, you're allowed to eat, all right. But when you take off meiser, it's not going to be the mai. You don't have a suffix. Maybe it was maaser. It's not amoris. Amoris is a question of he's maaser or not. But this kusi was definitely not maaser, and therefore maaser vadai. When you take off meiser, you take it off as a definite. You say with a bracha, whatever differences between the mai and vadai, you consider it vadai. What's the chiddush?
Consider that the kusi. We know
Definitely-
for sure that the kusi
Definitely did not take off meiser. Maybe there are more chiddushim over here, but
He's buying it from the Kusi?
the Mepharshim talk about the fact that he's working with him, so he's allowed to eat.
He's allowed to eat, but then that's a right. He's not allowed
And
to
when
take it home with him.
If he's saying, what's the case that he's going to be maaser? When he is going to be
Yeah.
maaser, he'll take achilas keva. He's saying that case wouldn't be allowed to take as a worker. Good.
Yeah.
Must so it must be in that case when he buys it from him, then he wants to take it home, eat achilas keva. So
Maybe
then-
he gets his wages.
maybe okay, good. Well, good. I don't know why the Gemara brings down this part of the Mishnah or Brisa, because the main point is the next one that we want. Rav Shem ben Elazar Omer in Yisrael Chashud ala Shviyas and Matzoi Shviyas Mutter. We're not talking about a kusi. If it will be a Jew who is suspect of not keeping Shemitah, and you want to buy or eat of his produce, and you're choshed that he worked on Shemitah, and
maybe it
it's-
was planted on tree.
he planted on Shemitah. So, and now it's the Motzoi Shvius, now it's already on the 8th year, Mutter. And the Gemara sees in these words that it grew in Shemitah and it continued growing in the 8th year.
This is the same case or no?
It's
He's
not,
working with the bulbs with the kutsi.
I
or
don't,
is it-
I hear it doesn't have anything to do with Meiser, and it doesn't talk about Meiser over here.
No,
So
but he's like working with a kuti.
it's the case that he's
Or if the
working with the,
Kuti is,
he's working with the Yisrael Chashud. He's not a Kusi here, now he's going to be Yisrael Chashud. He's not going to be called the Kusi.
Oh,
Take-
in Yisrael chashuv.
If the
I thought
person,
they meant the Yisrael was chashuv.
not the one we're talking to, then he doesn't listen to us. We're talking to the Jew who listens to us, who's working with Yisrael Chashud.
If the guy who's doing the menakesh is working with an Israel chashuv,
And it's not a question of Meiser, but it's a question of Shemitah. And he's choshed, he's a suspect, he suspects him that he had planted it on Shemitah. He doesn't keep Shemitah. He's non-Shemitah observant. And now it's already in the 8th year. I don't see the connection between the Reish and the Sefer. Doesn't seem to
I
be
see.
the issue. The fact that he's working doesn't seem to be the point. I think that the Rosh says it will be applied to regular case of regular Shvius, that he was not Shomer Shvius, and he planted on Shemitah, and now it's already growing into the 8th year. So, translated into our language, the Gidulim are matir the Iker. The Iker was Asa, either because he planted it on Shvius or whatever you're going to say, Shvichim, whatever you want to say. The reason why it's Shemitah, and now it's already growing into the 8th year. And you say mutter, you say that the 8th year growth nullifies the Isser of whatever was on the 7th year. And again, the Gemara brings a raya that it's mutter. Remember the Gedulei had the Malanas Isser. Once again, you see that it's mutter. This is against Rav Yochanan and Rav Yonasan said that the Gedulim cannot nullify the Isser, the Iker. So, Akasha, this is a price we brought. That's in the bottom line.
Excuse me, in this case, what's the difference between a Yisrael chashuv and an Amharetz, for example? This is a Yisrael chashuv means we're not sure if he keeps Shemitah law.
He's chashud. He's suspect that he doesn't. Every Amoris, I know Amoris maybe by Chumas and Meisus, a regular Amoris. I'm not sure what his status is as far as
As far
Shemitah.
as we know.
But here the case is
Here-
that you know that he's chashud al Shvius. He's chashud on Shemitah.
We assume he doesn't keep Shemitah.
We know we have reason to think that he's suspect. Why is he a suspect? We have to learn
Because
Shemitah.
he has wolf in his field with, and it's grown and it's not shmita anymore.
And yet, so if it's so pashut, and then for sure you can eat on the 8th year.
Because it was came batel, the 8th year
Because it
growth
came batel,
is
that's what
mavatel,
it
is
is.
mavatel, the 7th year growth. Don't you see that the gedulim of heter are able to be mavatel d'isser? So the Gemara tries to get out of it. V'dilma b'davar shezara kala. Maybe we're talking about these chasios, maybe something that disintegrates. If it disintegrates, there is no isser. Means he had planted something. The Gemara doesn't know. I said I gave it away. I said that it's garlic and luf and all these kind of things that don't disintegrate, but the Gemara doesn't know that yet. So it wasn't fear that I said it.
Maybe it was something that's roa kala.
Zara kala, maybe it disintegrates, and if it disintegrates, there is no isser anymore. Only the 8th year growth is present, and the 7th year growth disintegrated. It's not here anymore. The dilma b'davar shezara
Roa
kala.
kala means,
That
like what's the example?
which things disintegrate, which seeds. I think wheat and barley, when you plant it, it disintegrates. If you're going to dig it up before it starts growing, you're going to find just disintegrated matter.
So this wheat on the 8th year, you can eat it. Or we're saying. Is not what we're talking about.
Because
And
even though the shvius was iser, but now it
Well,
disintegrated,
because there was nothing there.
and whatever grew in the 8th year is new
Correct.
stuff, it's new.
Uh-huh.
But the Gemara says, no, well, you talk about chasios. Don't you know chasios is ein zara kala? Atanya elav chasios says in the Bryce, you know what chasios are? Kigon aluf, hashum v'avet solim. And these are all ein zara kala. The bulb still remains. Luf. They say Solomon's lily. If anybody knows about that, shum, garlic, solim, onions. So it's not zara kala. No, not a good answer.
Luf they call leeks in modern.
Okay. But it has a bulb that doesn't disintegrate.
Yeah.
But the Gemara tries to get out of it still. But then let's try the old answer that we did on Amar Aleph. That's already crushed up already. Maybe it's crushed up already. If it's crushed up, then surely
Honey.
that was on Amar Aleph also. The bottom line of Amar Aleph also had that teretz that it's crushed up already. If it's crushed up, doch nidracht. If it was already crushed up, then of course it's batal. Heter is going to be mevatel this. It's only question when it's gedulim. The Gemara says no. Chashad ala shviyas katani. It says the person we're talking about is chashad ala shviyas. So what?
How's he choshen rosh fias? Because the plants are in front of us.
And if he crushed it up, maybe why he chashad al shviyas after he crushes it up also. So what's the answer? Just because the chashad al shviyas is the reason why it's not crushed up. The Gemara suggests maybe it's crushed up. That's why it's batal. The Gemara says no.
Why he's crushing it up. He wants good solid vegetables.
Don't you want a salad?
Yeah,
don't
but
want a loaf
he's
salad?
He's a farmer.
He eats also.
That's my. I'm not sure what's going on. Is
Okay.
he going? Is he eating or is he marketing? Is he making money from
Whatever.
it?
Is it so terrible to say the Rice is talking about that it's batal? The Israel, the Jew who took it from the Israel Chashud that is talking about that it's already crushed up. Is it so terrible
Maybe he
to
invited
say
him
that?
for lunch. And he's serving him a salad fresh from my garden.
And it's the 8th year stuff that I already the 7 years. So the Gemara says the answer is no, it can't be the Meduchanim because it's Chashad al Shviyah. So the Rishonim explained Chashad al Shviyah Katani. The Rishonim explained that the only reason he's going to be Dach, I'm not so comfortable. I'm going over a hurdle. If everybody wants to come along, that Meduchanim, the Gemara thinks the only reason why you're going to do that is in order to be Mevatel the Isser. The only reason why you're going to crush it, I thought you do it.
That's what Nedarim was saying. You want fresh vegetables.
I thought you want to make a salad, no? So okay, the reason you're going to crush this stuff, it's already talking about shum. Don't everybody has a garlic crusher? So no, chashan al shviyas doesn't do that because
crushing it for?
people only crush it because they want to make it mutter. They want to make it mutter. If it's usher, and they want to make it mutter, so they'll go to the trouble of crushing it in order that it should be mutter. If we say gedulim are not able to be mevatel this, but if it's crushed, it is able to, and someone wants it to become batel, so go to the trouble of crushing it. But if he's any b'chashad al shviyas, he doesn't care about all this, so then he's not going to go to the trouble to crush it. And then, is anybody happy with the answer?
I thought that somebody who's chashid means he's the one that's not going to eat it, isn't he?
Right. So it seems
So
that
he's not going to eat it because he sees that it's crushed.
he's
and
not
thinks
going
that
to. Who's not going to eat it?
The Jew,
Which Jew?
the good Jew.
The good Jew. It says here that he could eat it Masay Shviyas. If he saw chashad al shviyas, the Masay Shviyas mutter. The Menachesh, the one who's getting this onions from the Yisrael chashad, it's now holding in Masay Shviyas, and we tell him you can eat the onion. But we're saying How could you tell onion is a bottle? It was a mavatal, the 70-year part of the onion. So if you'd say that it's crushed, so then it will be mutter. But the Gemara says not crushed because the Yisrael Chashiv wouldn't go to the business the trouble of crushing it in order to make it mutter because he doesn't care about Shemitah. If you're not happy, I'm also not happy. I don't know if it helps you, but it seems to be
That makes
difficult.
us happy. The fact that you're not happy, that's okay.
We're trying. That's what the Rush seems to say. The Gemara tries the Dilma B'Tarovis. Maybe you got mixed up without trying. Maybe you got mixed up. There was a case of Meduchanin that you'll do it intentionally in order to crush it. But what if it got mixed up? With, you made a salad, whatever the case is going to be. You didn't do it for the purpose of crushing it. For the Mevatel. Even Yisrael Chashiv also likes
That
salad.
makes it bottle.
Then it'll be bottle. Means the whole reason why it's not bottle is why it's growing when it's still whole, when it's whole before you crushed it. But Tarovis will mean that it did get crushed, but it crushed not with the purpose of being Mevatel, but it got mixed up because you want to make a salad, whatever the case would have been. And the whole, our whole subject is Gidulim, when you have the thing that the original and it grew more. Do you say that the Gidul is able to be Mevatel the Iker, but once it's crushed up, then surely you could.
Mhm.
Some people crush it up for the purpose of being Matabit. Some people crush it up because they like a salad. So maybe that's the case. And even the Yisrael Chashiv also like salad. And that's the reason why it's already bottled, because it's not in the state of the original Gidulim. The Gemara says no.
Our scroll says it's talk about we crushed it before we planted it, and that's unusual.
To crush it before you planted it. That I don't understand even.
That's what the Fiddan Art scroll says,
Right.
and
I saw that
and that's
also-
why it's unusual. That's why you only do it to be bottle the Isa.
If you crush a girl, I don't.
You crushed it before you planted
He
it.
crushed it and
Crushed
it
it.
still can generate
If
it.
If you're only gonna do it to be bottle.
Okay. And the Gemara answer, the Gemara says, not a kasha v'dilma b'tarovis, and the answer is hamanachish katani. It seems that it's still holding in the field. He's in the field while he's taking out the good from the bad. Either he's by the field or he's by the table with all of the onions taking out the good from the bad. But it's not talking about that it got mixed up with anything else. So therefore, it must be that the onion itself, since part of it grew in the 8th year, it's mutter. And no way out. The more I tried 3 ways out, the more I tried to wiggle out. Sorry, Kola didn't work. The Nuchanan didn't work. Tarobis didn't work. So the Gemara at this point thinks that it's a good proof that the Gidol is matir and mevatel the Iker.
That's why they brings the ratio.
What do you see in the Reish?
Hamanachish.
Not for the dinner of the Reish, that's the same Menachish. Menachish, Yisrael Chashiv, you don't need the case of the Reish, but you need the case of Menachish. Good.
Otherwise,
should
the
go.
Gemara would have to answer it, Katani Hamanakish.
And go back to the Reish. Okay.
So again, what is this? Manachish?
Menachish means that he's weeding
Yeah, I know,
him,
but so what
and
is
that
this?
means that he's not by the salad table, he's by the working table.
And the question is, can he?
They didn't get mixed up. It didn't get mixed up with anything. The Rosh could have said this also for the Meduchanan case also. This last answer, Hamanachish Katani would have answered the question of Meduchanan, but not talking about crushing without getting mixed up. It's just holding by the onions that are either in the field or it's on the working table where they're separating the good from the bad, and nothing got crushed and nothing got mixed up with other things. No salads over here, just the onions that were grown in the 7th and they grew in the 8th also. And it says that it's mutter, it must be because the heter, the gidulim of heter, are able to be mevatel the issa. And the Gemara likes this raya.
The Nakish is taking out some of the plants to.
Right, that's like the weeding, take out the bad.
It's not, you
Take
take out
out-
the bad, take out extra so that it gives room for the others to grow.
Usually Menachish doesn't mean that. I think so. You know Menachish means that or that?
I think so.
Because they have Mazare, all kinds of different words, Makarse, Mazare. Menachish, they usually translate another Gemara, they're taking out the weeds. Here,
In this case, it is the weak because you're taking out the ones which are
inferior
or
or too
taking
many.
up too much space. So you
Mhm.
you take off.
So you're not taking, but you're not taking them off to eat, but now you're gonna eat them.
Of course, well, you're gonna eat it because you're not gonna throw it in the garbage.
So why does it say such a fancy case about the bad and the good? Why doesn't it just say somebody's working in the field with onions? Why does it give such a case of Menachish? Like it's a very strange, like there are all kinds of reasons why he's working in the field.
Um,
Isn't that strange?
Why does it give that example?
Yeah, it could be, probably 10 things you have to do in working with these things. So I don't know, but as far as our Gemara, the Gemara thinks this is a good raya. This brisa that said that is Yisrael Choshed al Shvius, they were onions that grew in the 7th year, and now it grew also into the 7th year. It's mutter for the Jew to eat them.
And this is because it's gonna become.
Because the Gedulim are Mavatel the Iker. The Gedulim is the 8th year. And the original one is the 7th year. The 8th year growth is going to be Mavatel the 7th year growth. Of course, you have to have growth. So the more things is a good run. So
We don't need the question. We don't have to rely on.
right. If you question, everybody would hold that it's Mavatel. The Gedulim are Mutter and Shol is Mavatel the growth. But here the Gedulim was not crushed. Everything's, and you said like the lateral lays, it stands by itself. It's not the Russian words that it's not Murav Lagamri. So that was the question. And what if you
think
understand that it's us here?
The reason why he uses weeding is because that's how he gets it. If he was watering the plants or if he was fertilizing them, he wouldn't have the plants to eat. But because he's putting them up.
It could be also that he's harvesting them, right? The simple case, harvesting them. Also would have been good. Maybe there's a side point why it says this case of weeding. I don't know. But as far as Agamora, that'll be like a side point. Agamora wants to get that the 7th year onion becomes mutter because of the 8th year growth. And the Gemara is happy with that, but now it's going to be a kasha on those who said differently. The Sugi started off, Rabbi Yanai said it's mutter. Rabbi Yanai says that the Gedulim could be Mevatel the Iker. Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Yanai said not. Rabbi Yochanan was talking about Orla. He's the one who said about Orla, that you grafted a Orla branch onto a older tree. So he said that the original fruit of the young branch still stay asa.
Right.
And Rabbi Yonasan was talking about Kalaya Kerem. You had an onion planted in the Kerem, which made a Kalaya Kerem, and then you took away the Kerem and the onion continued growing. You say that the heter growth is going to be Mavatel the Kalayim growth? And he said no. So Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Yonasan both said that the growth does not Mavatel the Iker. And here we brought a raya after with this Bryce. The Gemara says, this Bryce says, by Shemitah, this case talking about a 7th year and an 8th year, it says that it does, the Gedulim on Mavatel the Iker. So that's the more continues now. Now
Excuse
that
me,
yes.
Rabbi Yochanan, with this branch that was put on the
grafted onto the old tree.
The Orla grafted branch. So that branch, everybody can see that branch, right?
Okay.
But it doesn't matter. He's saying that all the other, let's say you put a little red dot on the
Orla branch.
We're saying that the fruit of that branch is also mutter.
so you put a little,
According to this new,
did it have a fruit on it already?
Oh, I'm sorry, I said it had a fruit, it started growing.
So let's say you
and
put a
then
little red dot on that fruit. That's
Yeah.
Orla fruit.
that's the question, is it all the fruit or
No,
not?
it's Orla fruit on that thing, and then he's gonna take that branch and then put a little red dot on the Orla fruit. He's gonna graft it onto a new tree, onto an
Yes.
old tree, a
Yes,
different tree. And now all the other fruit that comes from that branch, or it doesn't matter about that fruit, it just matters about the
okay.
branch.
The other branches are not
I'm talking about that
issue.
branch,
We're talking about the fruit that started growing on that branch.
after he grafted it.
It started growing before and it continued growing
That's what I'm
after.
saying, so the fruit that he started growing. Oh, the fruit that he started growing, and then
That's
it
all
gets
the fruit,
bigger.
right, that's
So now the bigger part is gonna move out to the part that was.
right, that's the question of the
And he
sugya.
says it's mutter.
So Rabbi Yochanan said that it's asa,
Rabbi Yochanan says it's
and
still.
here,
is,
and here the Gemara
because
has
it
the right
doesn't
that it's
move out,
mutter,
it
right?
doesn't.
That's not much the case. There
Yeah.
are many different cases of different isurim. We saw talk about kalayim and orla and truma and shvius.
I
Many
see, we're
cases.
talking about every little fruit.
The fruit that were
They were
growing,
like,
the
even if
orla
there were
fruit,
buds or whatever it was,
right?
that
And now
once it becomes
200
fruit,
times more, whatever the case.
200 times more.
That you have to be mevatel orla is bottle with
And it
200.
still doesn't help.
Right. The Rebbe said it doesn't help because the gidulim
Okay, so
are
you
not
have to
able
do-
to be
that's up to
mevatel
you.
the isser, and
Yeah.
here it says the gidulim are able to be mevatel the isser. Lame but have tifta the Rabbi Yochanan and the Rabbi Yonasan. This should be a raya against the Rabbi Yochanan and the Rabbi Yonasan. Both of them said that the gidulim are not mevatel the isser, the ikar. Rabbi Yitzchak Shanya Shvius.
I'm sorry, to Rebbe Yonasan, what?
Oh, the Rabbi Yochanan.
How do you read it?
Lame but have tifta the Rabbi Yochanan and the Rabbi Yonasan.
Oh, vid to Rebbe Yonasan, I missed that, okay.
Rabbi Yitzchak Shanya Shvius. Shemitah is different. Means only raya. What is this case about the 7th year and the 8th year? But
Uh-huh.
Shemitah, that's different. Over there, we're going to be moda that the Gedulim are able
They're gonna
to
be
be
mon,
mevatel, but that's not going to be a kasha of Yochanan about
they're
Orla
gonna
and the
be
Yonis.
makel there,
Over there, we won't make it. Why?
What? You're not making by them.
they're makel.
By
For Rebbe
Shemitah, we're
Yochanan.
going to be more makel, and the case of Orla and the case of Klaya Kerem, over there, we're going to be machmer. Why?
Even though we've got this new din.
But it only says by Shemitah. Here's talking about Shemitah.
So that changes.
Daniel-
the whole- So then the original poskim of the Rabbi Yochanan and the Yochanan are right. It's just
Not that they're right. There's no kasha on it.
there's no connection.
Shnia means different.
Shania, yeah, like Shoneh, Shoneh. Shani Shvius. Shvius is different. Hold the Isur Ali de Karka, Bitelos Anam Ali de Karka. Whoever figures these words out, since the Isser is through Karka, so too the Bittel also work through Karka. So I would never know what the words mean. The Rush, the different shatim over here, the Rush says that the Shemitah at the 7th year, the 8th year, all these things, the 6th year, 7th year, 8th year, you don't do anything. It just grows. You can have the 6th year going into the 7th year, you can have the 7th year going into the 8th year. You don't have to do anything to change the status from Issa to Heter. But the case of Orla, let's say, how do you take a Orla and make more growth of a Heter? You
Do something. You
have to graft it. And the case of Klein, you had an onion
You have to
growing in the
plant it.
kerem, you had to take away the kerem.
Oh, you have
They're
to take
moving
away
it.
the-
How do you
oh, I
make the
see.
Issa to become Heter? You have to do something.
You have to do
But
something.
by Shemitah, you don't do anything. It does the 7th year goes into the 8th year, all of a sudden it starts growing Heter. In the 7th
Oh,
year,
I
it's
see.
growing
Sort
Issa.
of automatic.
So it's automatic. If it's automatic, it's easier for the Gedulim to be Matya the Ikar than if it's not automatic, if it's manual. If it's automatic on its own, that the Heter starts growing without doing anything. Over there, we're going to be, I don't understand as far, but
Because it has nothing to do with how important Shvis is. It could be very, very important.
but
But the fact that you don't have to do anything, we'll say. we
that the
can make
heter
it.
starts growing on its own, so then it's able to be mevatel the iser. But if the heter does not come on its own, you have to do something in order to make the heter start growing. That is start growing heter. So then, Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Yonasan said that the gedulim are not mevatel the iser. How to listen to the words, I don't know. Yisrael ali de karka, they lost an amal de karka.
Mhm. Okay, very nice.
Now Rabbi Yochanan is everyone is really fine.
Because Rabbi Yochanan's mode.
Because of Moda by Shemitah. Go back to Ishmael, Ishkvar Yama. That was the question, by the way. The 7th year into the 8th year. Who was that? That was the whole sugi came in. I missed it.
Did I miss this? Is this for today?
This was yesterday.
Yesterday?
Tonight after Gemara,
Ishmael, Ishkvar Yama. Hela biyodo.
where it says Gemara.
Yishmael Ish.
Ishkvar Yama. Bamud Ishkvar Yama. Hela biyodo. Botzel sheikro b'shakro b'shvius v'nata b'shminis. Here he did happen to replant it, but it didn't have to, because even if it would have left it going from the 7th to the 8th year, it would have become 8th year. Here he had a case that he had an onion that was uprooted in the 7th, and he replanted it in the 8th, and now the gidulim of heter are more of the 8th year is more than the 7th, is a mutter or not. And then the Gemara thought that it depends on these questions about Rabbi Yana, Rabbi Yochanan, Rabbi
Rabbi
Yonasan.
Yochanan maybe would say.
You would agree to over there, maybe that's mutter, right? First,
No. Maybe he would say that it's usher because you did something. But if you just let it grow.
I would think you don't have to. That's making difference if you actually, maybe, I don't know. I would think that not. That shvius is a kind of a thing. That's because you happen to take it out, put it back in again. It doesn't make a difference. The Shemitah alone, the 7th year, 8th year alone starts coming. You don't have to do anything. I would think not. You're saying, Levi Yaakov is saying that if you left it grow, then you didn't do anything. But if you took it out, put it back in again, then you did do something. I would think that you did. It's not the heter. The heter would have happened anyway. Could have left it, also would have come out. I don't see what that's called doing something.
I see, yeah, I see, the grafting wouldn't work, okay.
So at this point, there was a riot that by Shemitah, you do say the Gedulim is matter the Ikar. We thought Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Yonasan are arguing, so no, they also can't agree to that. But they do say Rabbi Yanai was talking about Truma, the one who said that it's matter. Even by Truma also, we said that Gedulim are matter. So he didn't say Dafka. So okay, there seems to be machlokes still. But there's no kasha from Shemitah. Everybody's masking by Shemitah. Now the Gemara takes the other side. The Gemara doesn't let us know, but the Gemara is really changing signs now. Kind of lines from the bottom.
No, but this is a kasha on Rabbi Yochanan, isn't it?
We answered it
Already.
already.
Uh-huh.
I realize, and it's not going to be. It sounds like it's going to be a kasha,
Sounds like
Rabbi
a kasha
Yochanan,
on Rabbi
but it's
Yochanan.
not going to be. Let's see. Okay, we can go in like that, but I think we're going to change. Are Meiser, the Yisur Ali de Karka, and still Ein B'Telos Ali de Karka. The more things. When you look at Meiser, you look at it that it's automatic.
What's automatic about Meiser?
What's automatic about Meiser?
Because it doesn't seem automatic at all. You have to take it out and Gemara, whatever it's called.
He's now referring to our case of Mr. Betzon Shadikna, SSS.
There's
No,
no
he's going to
Meiser.
bring the following.
There's
He's
no
going to read the
Meiser from
Tanya.
the
We'll read the Rashi he's talking about.
That's the whole thing about the Meiser, that you can eat it awry, anything that you're in the field. There's no Meiser until you take it to your house. So you had to do something. Why wouldn't you say Ali de Karka?
We'll see the case of which Ma'aser the Gemara is referring to, and it might answer your question.
Okay.
The
So this is
following,
not
let's say,
possible.
I read the following case, which is going to be something about Ma'aser. We don't know what it is yet. That happens by itself, or just by karka without you doing anything. But they lost all their karka is going to mean that we're going to show that gidulim are not mevatel the ikar.
They're not mevatel,
Not
even
mevatel
though
the
you
ikar.
didn't do anything.
So this seems like Lady Yaakov says, it seems we're just continuing the discussion against Rabbi Yochanan. But the words are not that. The words are saying that I'm going to show you that the Gedulim are not Mavatel. Till now, the Gemara brought this case of Shvi'as. The whole kasha was that the Gedulim are Mavatel. And Rabbi Yochanan had to say, I agree over there.
Yeah,
And he said this lumdus to explain. But now the Gemara is really turning the tables and saying that I'm going to show you that Gedulim are not Mavatel.
you take karka.
Even though it's al karka, even though it's without doing anything, still the gidulim are not mevatel, which is really turning the table, not asking. It's going to be a right to Rabbi Yochanan
Sort of a kasha, yeah.
on Rabbi Yana or Rabbi Ami, the ones who were saying that it's mutter. This is going to be a kasha that's asa. So
That's
the
a
words
kasha
don't sound
Rabbi
like that.
Yochanan's, our mitya shevim,
And
or whatever.
right, and we're going to show something which seems to be similar to Shvi'as. The way the Gemara introduces it, as far as being automatic or manual, it seems to be like Shvi'as. And according to your cloud, the Gidulim should be able to be mevatel the Iker, and it's not going to be able to. That's going to be the kasha. So we're changing directions without really telling us. We made a U-turn, and now we're attacking the ones who say that the Gidulim are mevatel the Iker. We're going to show that the Gidulim are not mevatel the Iker. We're taking the Rabbi Yochanan side. What's the case? Let's get to the case because we're talking, how do you say, in the luft. In the luft. The Tanya, literal Meiser Tevel. What's Meiser Tevel?
It's a bunch of, Meiser.
Meiser Tevel. We know Meiser, we know Tevel. What's Meiser Tevel? Meiser Tevel means that it's Meiser, but it's still Tevel. Why is Meiser still Tevel? Because you're supposed to take off Chuma's Meiser. We take off Chuma, you give it to the Kohen. You take off Meiser, you give it to the Levi. And the Levi from the Meiser is supposed to take off Chuma's Meiser. A tenth of a tenth.
Meiser
And-
Tevel means Meiser.
Which is still
That did-
Tevel.
Uh-huh.
Why is it Tevel? Because you didn't
The
fix up the
Levi
Meiser.
didn't take,
The Levi didn't take off Meiser, Chuma's Meiser. So it's Tevel. It's for all practical purposes, it's Tevel also. It's Meiser, but it still has to be taken off Chuma's Meiser. So what are you supposed to do? He's supposed to take off Chuma's Meiser. He didn't. He took the Meiser, which has not yet been fixed up by taking off Chuma's Meiser, and he planted it. He planted the Meiser, which is Tevel. Veshbicha,
seems like a,
a evil person.
no, it seems like it'd be an easy mistake to make.
Why?
I didn't take that.
Chuma's
You
Meiser.
planted that, darling, you planted that before I gave it to the Kohen. Oh, yeah.
And like any kind of tevel, you have tevel, and he planted tevel. That's
No, but
what
it's
it's
Meiser.
Oh, yeah,
The Meiser is something that you can eat, but you have to take off the trim.
yeah, but Mrs. Levy,
Well, it's in the
Miss-
lady's house. and
Mrs.
somebody
Levy,
cooked it.
Mrs. Levy knows that this is tevel. Like Mrs. Levy knows always, you don't eat meiser. Whenever they come to give
Well,
meiser,
it's
we
just
always
like
put
it'd be
it.
an easy mistake. Oh, you put it on the side.
Yeah, this is like any tevel
It's
you put
like
on the side.
anything.
Yeah, they put a tevel on the side. So now this is you get meiser. They come to the Levy's house
Mistakes happen.
and they say that
Okay,
mistakes
I like
like
to
that.
think of.
Okay, but here the case was that can be a mistake. So now you planted this tevel. It wasn't tevel, it was meiser tevel. And now it improved. That God grew on the ground.
But
Arei-
Veicha means it got better.
Yes, and what happened? Arei ke'eser litrin. This 1 liter, the 1 kilo became 10 kilo.
This 1 liter became 10 liter.
It grew
Tenfold.
10 times. Right? So the question is, do you look at this? Let's talk about the original one at least. You can talk, I don't think it's going to talk too much about the rest of them. Everything is time, but do you look at the original one, original kilo of onions, whatever that you planted? That's meiser tevel. Do you look at it still as meiser tevel, or do you look at it like regular growth? Does it still retain its identity as being meiser? Usually what do? You plant something, So we know what you do. It's all becomes tevel. After you do the work, whatever you do all of the processes, it's tevel. You have to take off a truma, meiser, trumas, meiser, everything's regular. This thing's something unique about it because it's already meiser tevel. Does it lose its identity of meiser tevel? So first,
It's very nice.
it's already meiser, right?
But
Very
then
nice.
you
And
use
it's
it
still
like
that it's tevel for trumas meiser, right? You look at the fact that it's already meiser. It's not tevel.
In other words, you have to take, you're supposed to take 1/10 of the liter, of the liter.
It will be regular stuff that you would have planted. So then you
you
have
take a
10
tenth of the
10
litra.
kilos over here. So you take off a little bit for truma, one of them for meiser, take off a tenth of that, right? The
That's if
regular.
it's tevel.
But what?
That's if it's tevel.
It would have been regular. It would have been regular produce.
Mhm.
But here, there's also a case where you could plant tevel also. Tevel means it's already usually allowed to eat arai. That's a side point, a footnote. Usually when you have produce that hasn't been tied yet, allowed to eat arai.
Yeah,
What if you plant a tevel? You plant a tevel, it's already nigmar malachto, and you instead of taking off trumas and meiser, you planted it. So now when it grows, it could be they're not allowed to eat arai because it's already tevel.
oh,
Just put that on the side.
Here,
You planted meiser tevel.
miser tevel.
So
So
it's halfway kosher. In other words, it's still, the tent has been.
It's meiser.
Meiser.
it is
And
meiser.
therefore then.
It is meiser, which allows to be tied more.
Yeah.
So first of all,
truma has to be taken from that.
If it doesn't mevatel, then you have to take 1/10 of the liter for that. Right? It was a liter, so
Right.
1/10 of that has to go to the Kohen.
Right.
And then you've got now, but you have now, instead of 1, you have 10.
Yeah, you have
And then
much
the
more, grew much more.
And then there's gonna be 9, maybe you don't know what the 9 are, and then those would be, what would they be? They'd be fine, they'd be a fulan, they'd be tevel, I don't know what they.
So the Brisa says, Hayeves b'maiser v'shvius,
I have a mice.
silver shvius.
The
But
whole
also
thing.
litra. So the Rosh, I'm just keeping clear with the Rosh's pshat. The Rosh says this whole thing is Psak is telling you about that original litra.
The original.
Of course, the rest of the other growth is also surely chayv and meiser and shvius like anything else. If it's the year of meiser, you have to give meiser. If it's the year of shvius, it's shvius. But also litra maaser olam imakamachel lefi cheshbon. That means we on one hand we say that it's regular fact that you planted it now it's regular produce that has to be tied and therefore it's chayv and meiser. So you have this 10 kilo over here, these 10 liters over here. So you have to take off meiser, 1 out of 10. And as far as that, we're looking at it as if the meiser ever lost this identity.
Because you didn't have to take any truma.
Because if it would have
You
been
didn't
right,
take
if it
any
would have
trumas
been
meiser.
still meiser, look at it like meiser tevel, the original way you look at meiser
You
tevel,
need
meiser,
trumas meiser.
so then you don't have to tie that, it's meiser. All you have to do is take off trumas meiser.
Uh-huh.
So on one hand, we look at it as if it lost its identity,
Mhm.
and therefore you maaser the whole 10 kilo, you take off a tenth from it because there's 10 kilo of produce that has to be tied. But what's bothering us is it says well also litra maaser olam imakamachel lefi cheshbon. That original litra of meiser tevel has to be tied to take off a tenth of that, like trumas meiser. That's what I'm supposed to do. So take it off. Don't take it off from it itself, from mineu bay. Don't take it off from it. How would you say inherently? Don't take off a tenth of that original litra to give to the Kohen, because we do look at it also like it's lost its identity, and you have to be maaseret. So he says, what do? You take me mocha macher,
So here meiser leha means for the truma.
for the meiser. Maaser olah means take meiser mana meiser. To take the truma. This maaser olah is going to mean the trumas meiser.
That's what I meant. Trumas
Okay,
meiser.
that's going to be the trumas meiser. So don't take from it, but take out how much you need. Whatever you need, a tenth of a liter, a tenth of a liter, or take from someplace else that you also have things that are maaser that has not yet been trumas meiser. We'll call it
Oh,
meiser
from a
tevel.
totally different place,
Take
not
from
from
another-
these 10.
Right.
Why?
Because it has 2 hats. It has 2 identities. One is that it's meiser tevel. One is that it's regular tevel. So you have to take from another. You can't ignore the fact that now you look at it like it's not meiser tevel. You can't just take. You have to look at it like it's chayv and meiser also. You have to like chayv and truma. You have to do everything. But on the other hand, it does not lose its original identity, and therefore you have to take off trumas meiser. That's what we want over here. What we want is that it does not lose its original identity. It's not butter. Just to talk our language again, that if you'd say the kidulim on mevatel the ikar, so then you would ignore the fact that once upon a time it was meiser tevel because it grew 10 times more. So if we do times more, so that the Gidulim should be Mevatel the original, and this Ma'aser Tevel should be gone. It shouldn't be Ma'aser Tevel anymore. The fact that it says that you have to remember that it will, you have to be Meteches. You have to consider the fact that it was Ma'aser Tevel. You don't say that it disappeared. That means that the Gidulim, which grew 10 times more, you don't say that was Mevatel the Ma'aser Tevel. You say that the Ma'aser Tevel is still here, and therefore you have to take a Fumas Ma'aser still. That's what the Gemara brings a proof from here against those who said that the Gedulim are Mevatel the Iker. You see that the Gedulim are not Mevatel the Iker. And here, now back to the thing about, is it called Karka? Is it called automatic? Is it not called automatic? The Gemara thought that this is called automatic. Means what we said at Teres already. We said that sometimes you do the Gedulim are Mevatel, sometimes the Gedulim are not Mevatel. What was our klal? We said that if it's automatic, like Shemitah, so then the Gedulim are Mevatel. And if you have to do something in order to bring on the Heter, so then it's not called automatic. Then the Gedulim are not Matir. The more I think so far that Ma'aser is called, it happens by itself. And according to that klal, it should have been that the Gedulim are Mevatel the Iker. So why do you say the Ma'aser Tevel is still here? It should have lost its identity. It should have become Batel in the 9 times more, that 9 kilo more that grew. If that's acceptable or not, that everyone agrees, happy or quiet. So the answer is, Amri, they said the answer is Ma'aser, Diganu the Kagarim. It's not called automatic. The Isser of Ma'aser is not called, I don't know, the Isser or the Heter. The Ma'aser does not come along, I don't know what to say over here. The Digun means piling it up into that's how you pile it up in for storage. That is what causes the Chiyav Ma'aser. The Chiyav Ma'aser doesn't happen by itself. The Chiyav Ma'aser only happens when you do something to it. So it's not called automatic. Till now we were talking about, I thought, we were talking about the change to Heter. Was automatic or not. Here it says that the Isser of Ma'aser comes not by itself. So we go back to the klal that the Gedulim are not Mevatel the Heter. The Gedulim are not Mevatel the Isser. We're saying everyone, it could be everyone, again, well, I could be Yochanan, that, but it could be everybody's agreeing to each other now. Rabbi Yanni did talk about Truma, and Truma, he said it's mutter also, so I don't know. It could be a man I still arguing. But Ma'aser Truma is all the same as far as this, that the Diganu the Kagarnula, that the fact that you make it into a pile, that's when the Chiyah, the Gemar Malacha, that's when the Chiyah Ma'aser comes, and therefore the Gedulim are not Mevatel the Iker. To sum it up so far, the Gemara in a lot of cases, but it seems to be a machlokis, the Gemara maybe reconciled the machlokis. The Gemara is coming out so far that it depends if this thing, if it happens by itself or not. And sometimes we're going to say the Gedulim are Mevatel the Iker, sometimes the Gedulim are not Mevatel the Iker. Shemitah was one place where we found that the Gedulim are Mevatel the Iker, the 8th-year growth is going to be Mevatel the 7th-year growth, but everything else we're saying the Gedulim are not going to be Mevatel. So far. I mean, the Gemara now, finally, because we did already, what is it? We did 3 Amudim about Gedulim. What's that have to do with us? What do we do wrong? So it goes back to our Mishnah. Our Mishnah talks about Nedarim. And what did it say? It said that sometimes Gedulim are mutter, sometimes Gedulim are aser. Master Bami Bachama, on this whole subject about Gedulim, Konim Peres Elu Alai, Konim Hein Lalpi, Konim Hein Lafi. This is the Mishnah we had on Daf Nun Zion. And we took a long break to talk about Gedulim, and now we're coming back. It says that if someone made an Isra on Peres Elu, however he said it, Konim Peres Elu Alai, or he said Konim Hein Lalpi, or he said Konim Hein Lifi, all these cases, it's also Bechilufenu V'Geduleyen, because the Aser benefit, and the Asering benefit includes also the exchange and the next generation. But if he said Shani Konim, Shani Ochel, Shani Tohen, that he only asked the eating, he didn't ask the benefit, he only asked eating it. Mutter b'chilufeinu v'gidulein v'davar shezawar kola. If it's something that disintegrates, so then the gidulim are mutter, the exchange and the gidulim are mutter. Aval b'davar she'en zawar kola, afilu gidulin asurin. But if the original thing does not disintegrate, like we know onion or garlic, so then even if he only asked it b'achila, he only asked this original onion b'achila. He said these onions are aser ami b'achila, and they planted it and it grew more onions. It says that everything's aser, and that's supposed to. And the Gemara doesn't even explain what the kasha is. That's supposed to be a kasha. What do you see? It says here that the Gedulim are Aser. Till now we spoke about the whole sugya till
He
now.
didn't do an action.
What
This happened by
does it,
itself.
what does it have to do with us about Gedulim being out to the Iker or not? Our whole subject for 3 amudim, a daf and a half, was that you had Gedulim that are mutter, and you had the Iker which is Aser, and you want to know if the Gedulim are be able to be mevatel the Issa. That was all subject, right? For 3 pages, for 3 amudim, that's what we did. That you had Gedulim Iker which is Aser.
Yeah.
Let's say 70 year, let's say
Yeah,
Orla, let's say Kalayim, and then you had more growth of Heter, and you want to know if the Gedulim of Heter is able to be Mevatel the Issa, the Iker. That was the subject. Now we had a Mishnah. The Mishnah tells us that by Davash, Ein Zarakol, he made a nether on an onion,
So it's also-
and so the Gedulim are also Asa. Does that have anything to do with us? We
Because
thought
it doesn't mevatel.
are the Gedulim mutter? Why the Gemara thinks so sure that the Gedulim are mutter? Here it says the Gedulim are Asa. We spoke about the whole time that you have the Iker was Asa, and then it grew more of Heter. Let's say the early
Here the whole thing was,
here it tells you a din that if you said that this thing is Asa, so the Gedulim are also Asa. If it's Davash Ein Sarakol, I asked this onion, and then it grew more, so telling me that the Gedulim are also Asa. I would have thought that just means that the Gedulim are also Asa. If the Gedulim Asa has nothing to do with our subject. Our subject was that Gedulim of Heter, and the original was Asa. Is it able to be Mevatel? And the Gemara doesn't even explain. The Gemara thinks this is our subject. That this Mishnah that says that the Gedulim are Asa, the Gedulim of an onion, Ein Zarakol, the Gedulim of an onion are Asa. You only Asa the onion, and the Gedulim are Asa. You know why the onion is Asa? Because the Gedulim of Heter are not able to be Mevatel the Issa.
well, because when I made the nether, I made it on the onion as it is now.
And the
Although I didn't
Gedulim,
say this onion,
So
did I?
sure it was the other way around.
whatever you said, whatever the Mishnah
This onion weighs
it's whatever it is.
200 grams.
And he
Okay,
said,
so now it's 500 grams. So Yeah,
It
so
does,
that
it does
onion,
help. It does help.
that onion
This
is
is an onion.
Aser, and it weighs 100 grams or 50
Now it
grams.
grew.
And now it grew to 200 grams. So it's only the 50 grams that I ushered, not the extra 150 grams.
So that's what the Rosh says.
Oh,
The Rosh seems to say that even though we learned the Mishnah, I didn't think of this. When we learned the Mishnah, we said the thing is here. You look at the thing when
you look at
it's
the thing and
Ein
it's
Zarakol, you look at it, it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and it's all Issa.
yeah,
Says no, that's not what happened. The original one is Asa, and now the growth should be
Yeah.
mutter.
should be.
So why is the Mishnah say that the growth is Asa? You know why the growth is Asa? Because really it's mutter. But the Iker is Asa. It's not able to be Mevatel the Issa. Go back, Mamash our subject.
But let's say
I
it
think you
grew
do.
50 times more.
So it's the Rosh seems to say no, that since the Iker is Asa, then it's mitpashet into it gives time, it's mitpashet, whatever you want. But the first thing you have to talk about is that the Gedulim are mutter and the Iker is Aser. And first you have to talk
So it
about
didn't
if the
mevatel.
Gedulim are able to be Vatel the Heter, Iser, and if it's not able to, then on the contrary, the Iser is going to spread out into the Heter also.
Uh-huh.
And that's how the Mishnah, that's how the Gemara understands the Mishnah. The reason why the Gedulim are Aser is not because the Gedulim are Aser. It's because the Gedulim of Heter were not able to be Vatel the Iser.
And then
And
spread
the
it.
Iser spreads out. And that's the most question.
Don't tell.
This one's Aser. This one's.
Why can't you
Yeah,
just
but
say
this
that when
one-
you say?
But this one is gonna
It's
give
the
it,
whole-
inside this one.
inside that one, it's gonna spread
That
out.
the whole, our whole Gemara doesn't start if you say that the Gedulim are also.
Yes, I thought we started the second. We brought in Gidule Truma, Gidule Shvius, Gidule Orla,
And the whole
Gidule.
sugya doesn't
I
start.
thought when I started the Gemara, I tried to stay clear, and I said the whole Gemara is going Gidule Mamutim.
Right.
As a fact, Gidule
Right.
Mamutim. Now the question is if the Gidule Mafet are able to battle this. And now in our Mishnah says Gidule are Asa. So okay,
So
why
our
does that
sugya
do
doesn't
it?
start.
Then it wouldn't have been if the Gidule Asa, the Sugya doesn't start.
Right.
If someone say Gidule Asa, the Sugya wouldn't start. But the
Right.
Gemara is going the whole time. The Gedulim Mamuta, and the Gemara still doesn't, even in our Mishnah, doesn't see that the Gedulim Asa. The only reason the Gedulim Asa is only because they weren't able to be Mubatel the Issa, and the Issa then spreads out. But not that the Gedulim are inherently out there. That's what it seems. They don't hear the answer?
I want to hear.
How you gonna sleep tonight? How you gonna sleep tonight?
I don't know. My tape recorder. Let me sleep. It's still
It's
about
typical to never see this.
Okay, one more line.
1 month.
Amar Rabbi Abba, Shani Kanama Sol Boy Mitchell Allah, Yabalu Dava Sheshal Matir, then the Vatal Baro. that our mission is altogether different. You know why it's not batal?
Mm.
It's true. The gedulim should be mutter,
Mm.
and then usually mevatel the heter. Here, you know why not? Because neder is called the davar sheish lo matir. Back to the old sugya, davar sheish lo matir. We had many times davar sheish lo matir afilu b'el batal. Something which can become mutter even without bittul. Don't do bittul. We'll wait for it to become mutter. A neder is called davar sheish lo matir. Why is a neder called davar sheish lo matir? Because you could be matir neder. Since you could be matir neder, so it's possible to get rid of the issa without bittul. So we don't allow bittul. So even though the klal is that gidulim are matir the issa, but by that they're not because it's davar sheish lo matir. So it's not here.
Say that again.
That really gedulim are matir.
They are, gedulim are mater.
Gedulim are matir. The issa, the ikar. Is the ikar then it grew more? I just want to
They're
get rid of
mater, you're saying they're mater or they mevatel the,
Gedulim are able to be mevatel. Yeah, that's how it's matir. You have an issa,
Yeah.
ikar issa, then it grew more. The gedulim are mutter. And then if there's enough to be mevatel the issa, that's the sugya we're talking about.
yeah.
So we're gonna gain now that we're right. That gedulim are mevatel the issa. Gedulim are mevatel the issa. What are we saying? Gedulim are mevatel the issa,
Yeah,
but
but in this case.
neder
of
is
a
different.
neder,
Neder is different. Neder is different. Technicality. Like even if
Because-
we nothing to do with gedulim, if we're in a pot also, if we're regular, niduch and everything you want, a regular issa.
you can, since you were able to mater it,
Since you're able to, davar sheish lo matir, it's going to become mutter without bittul, so don't rely on bittul. Davar sheish, we had a example. Davar sheish lo matir. We'll go back how many pages to davar sheish lo
don't rely on
matir?
it, but it doesn't prove that it doesn't mevatel.
Right, that's
It's
not
just
back
about-
over here
we
because
gotta
davar sheish lo
have a
matir. Like we said before, the tevel, ma'aser, sheni, hektish, this achadash, all daf nun ches. Over there said a whole list of things that are davar sheish lo matir.
Mhm.
And that's the reason it's not, but nothing to do with growing, nothing to do with growth. Growth could be but like anything else. There's another thing, double sheish material is not bottle. What do we say? Example, Chadash. Chadash got bottle in 1,000.
Mhm.
Not bottle. Why not? Because wait till Pesach, wait till the Omer is going to become mutter anyway. So we're saying that a neder is considered a double sheish material. Why? Because it's possible to take it off with the being matter neder.
Yes.
Okay, Yashikara.
Very much.
Is Chodesh, Chametz, double sheish material?
Chametz? Why should the chametz be double sheish material?
Chodesh Chametz. It's not double.
Oh, if it's chadash, but it's chametz. That without the chadash, it's going to go off, but the chametz is going to come on. I don't know. You can't get the chadash to become yashim without it becoming chametz.
Oh, and then you're not allowed to get benefit.
Unless what if it's by
They
it doesn't
speak
belong to
about
a Jew,
chametz is not davar sheish lo matir. We look at
even if
chametz.
it's chadash.
No, in general, chametz is a chiddush. It's not davar sheish.
Why is
lo
it
matir.
shlomatim?
The belt says
No,
no,
why-
this, but
Why should it be yes be yesh shlomatim?
if the Pesach it's mutter.
Even though
No, that's only if it wasn't yours.
This is the Rabbanan.
So the Rabbanan is not enough to
No, yeah. No, I know they say it was I remember I once heard Lumbus, but I think maybe I'm very, very, very good.
Dr. Fein's assumption was that the chametz part of it is no material, and one of the chadash part of it, chadash which is chametz. I don't know. Yashikar, thank you.